Hello everyone, so I'm going to give an IOC, an individual oral commentary on the literature piece that's ranging from 30 lines to 40 lines. The piece I chose is Medusa, a poem by a liberal feminist English poet, Carol Ann Duffy. Although she didn't recognize herself as a feminist, most of her works were definitely empowering for women and quite liberal. So the brief background for Medusa, the character, is that she was a Greek mythological character. She was sexually assaulted, basically raped by Poseidon, the Greek god for the ocean, in a temple dedicated for Athena. So Athena was angry, but instead of punishing Poseidon, who was the rapist, she decided to punish Medusa, who was just a victim, and she turned her into a gorgon, making her beautiful hair, into filthy snakes. In the whole story, Medusa was basically a figure of a victim. We can see that the figure of Medusa presented in the poem is quite different, and I'll closely examine her figure in the poem later. Overall, the poem is a dramatic monologue, or a soliloquy, because there was no other character but Medusa speaking throughout the poem. And by using stylistic devices such as consonants, the choice of rhyme, and rhetorical devices such as metaphor and personification, Carol Ann Duffy successfully depicted a desperate woman who chose to revenge. I'll start in a chronological order, so I'll analyze the poem stanza by stanza. This is the first stanza. A suspicion, a doubt, a jealousy grow in my mind, which turned the hairs on my head to filthy snakes, as though my thought hissed and spat on my scalp. So we can see that there is a clearly negative mood here, as Carol Ann Duffy chose some quite derogative words like suspicion, doubt, and jealousy. But notice that those words are not necessarily a negative figure for a person, but a person's negative response to something that's already bad. Like, you cannot say that a person is jealous when he or she didn't meet something that makes him or her jealousy. So there must be something going on that made her mood so dire, so negative. And it is her emotional response that made her hairs on her head to filthy snakes. So basically snakes that's hissing. And those snakes spat on her scalp, which means that she was quite influenced or even, totally overwhelmed by that negative emotion. And why is that emotion created? Carol Ann Duffy revealed it in the second stanza. My bride's breath soured, stank in the greybacks of my lens. I'm full-mouthed now, full-toned, yellow-fanned. There are bullet tears in my eyes. Are you terrified? So we can see that she's definitely not addressing her bride as her audience, but someone else. We can make the reasonable guess of who her audience is in the later stanza, but here you can see that she definitely hated her bride, her lover, who betrayed her. As the breath was stinking in the greybacks of her lungs, and she was full-mouthed, full-toned. That could be a double entendre, which means that she's both, that could have a literary meaning that her mouth and tongue are full, but also that she was kind of deceived by a fool. Be terrified. It's you I love, perfect man, Greek god, my own. But I know you'll go, betray me, stray from home. So better before me, if you were stone. She played another good word game here by saying, so better before me, if you were stone. There's a common expression in English that is, be stone love for someone, which means the love is really solid and unbreakable. Here she definitely recognized the fact that she was betrayed by her lover, and she decided, instead of being a pure victim, she decided to revenge. She decided to transform her lover to be stone so that he can never betray her anymore. And notice that Greek god, which linked the whole story back to the original Greek mythology. The consonants here, I know you'll go, betray me, stray from home, and my own and home. The rhyme scheme is very dexterous, and that created a feeling, created an emotion for the readers to follow up with Medusa and to witness her process of taking revenge. The following two stanzas. I glanced at a buzzing bee, a dull gray pebble fell to the ground. I glanced at a singing bird, a handful of dusty gravel spattered down. I looked at a ginger cat, a housebreak shattered a bowl of milk. I looked at a snuffling pig, a boulder rolled in a heap of shit. I stared in the mirror. Love Gone Bad showed me a gorgon. I stared at a dragon. Fire spewed from the mouth of a mountain. So here she's experimenting with her new power, her power that was get from her determination to take revenge. We can see that her objects, her victims of revenge was getting bigger and bigger, from a bee, which is very small, to a bird, which is larger, cat, pig, larger, and then a dragon. But notice that she also stared at herself. So if we use the logic of villain and victim, she was also the victim of herself. That created some metaphor that she was also sacrificed. She sacrificed herself in order to take revenge, in order to fight against, this toxic masculinity that made her husband or her lover betray her. So here we can see that the stone love is no more, and she just wanted to take the countermeasure, take the retaliatory response to her husband, to her lover, and she turned everything that she saw into stone. And she obviously couldn't turn herself into stone, so she was transformed into a gorgon, which is kind of a monster. So she definitely recognized the price she paid in order to take revenge, but she didn't regret, as revenge was what she wanted. The rebellion from masculinity was what she wanted, and she also wanted to punish those who harmed her. And the parallelism in those three stanzas are very clear and neat. So, the sentence of structure, I glanced at, I looked at, I stared in, I stared at, they're all in the same structure, and the response of the object, ranging from bees to dragons, are also similar structurally. So here is just a very neat parallelism showing the gradual transition that she took after deciding to revenge, and the strengthening of her power. And then the final stanzas here are really the powerful ones. And here you come, with a shield for a heart and a sword for a tongue. And you girls, wasn't I beautiful? Wasn't I fragrant and young? Look at me now. So here, she recognized you, which could be either her lover, who definitely betrayed her, or the new, I would say her lover's mate. So both were the objects of her revenge. And here finally, after yielding the new power and the determination to fight against the society where masculine are exploiting women, she found her husband, her former lover, with a shield for a heart and a sword for a tongue. So a heart and a tongue, which she really had as something sweet, when she was in love with her husband or her lover, that became really powerful now in terms of harming her, a shield and a sword. That also kind of reveals the toxic nature of masculinity, that those males, they can help you, they can say some really sweet words to you when they're in love with you, but then if they just kind of give up, they will turn everything they had, they will turn every sweet memory they had with you into weapons towards you, into weapons to torture you. And that's really something unbearable and caused so much pain for the for the females. And here our very character Medusa finally decided to fight back, and this is the moment to determine her fate. You girls, wasn't I beautiful? Wasn't I fragrant and young? So here, if her lover was attracted by someone else, we can assume that Medusa is not actually as beautiful or as young as the new girls. But notice that different from those girls who are still believing in something like love, intimacy, and passion, who were disciplined and controlled by masculinity, Medusa has already seen everything. She's seen the fact that masculine is just exploitative, and she had to fight back. She had to take revenge. So that not only made her more powerful, but also made her more complete, as more beautiful, not physically but spiritually more beautiful as a woman. She's fragrant and young because after finding her true passion, after discovering her true self, she was more powerful, she was younger, spiritually again. The beautiful and young, that's a total metaphor. So here, look at me now. She decided to fight against her fate, fight against the fact that she was deceived, exploited. She was given up by her love. And after all those painful experiences, she knew that there was no true love, there was only herself, and she decided to take everything that she once lost back. So, in the stanza, there's again a parallelism: a shield for heart and a sword for tongue. That successfully established the figure of her lover as an aggressor, as someone who's quite proactive and aggressive here, and also hostile to her, despite the fact that they fell in love like once sometime. And you girls, the repetition really created an anxious mood and full of tension here. Wasn't I beautiful? Wasn't I fragrant and young? This rhetorical question also expressed the anger of Medusa successfully. And the final stanza, which is only one sentence, is really the most powerful stanza in my mind. Look at me now. We shall fight. And you know, Medusa's power in the original mythology was that she could make anyone who was staring at her into stone. So she was decisive to kill her previous lover and the new women that her lover is with now. She decided to take the revenge. So overall, Ann Duffy's aim to create a powerful, self-aware women figure was achieved.